Good morning, everyone. Happy Mother's Day. Wasn't that an awesome song? Did you love it? Aiden liked it. Anybody else like it? I love the picture of it, like God's grace and love just like pouring down your skin into every crevice. Where you're like, God, I need you every day. I don't want to abuse all the love that you give me. So just keep pouring it out. I love it. Holy water. Man, our band is amazing. Isn't it awesome when you are sitting in a place where you're not only communing with God in worship, and maybe you're not an expresser, but like your heart is in tune and you're feeling it, but you can also feel that from the stage, and there's an exchange that takes place when the people who are on the stage leading are passionate about what they're doing. Isn't that amazing? Can we give it up for a moment for our band and the way that they prepare and they lead us every week? I learned to lead worship here at Genesis Metro. Tim and I were talking about this. It's actually my favorite thing to do to serve the church. I'd rather sing because I feel like I've been singing my whole life and it's easy because I'm like, I could just learn a song in like 10 minutes. Some of you are gonna be like, I couldn't learn a song if you told me I would just die first. I don't know how I would learn a song. But it's easy for me and I love it. I love watching God work. I love the way that God pushes that message down into me. And I love being here listening to these guys do the same. And girls, they do awesome. Tim and I were thinking back to how many years we've lived in Frisco. 19 years. Who has like transplanted to Frisco? You're not from here. Raise your hand. Probably most of the audience, yes. If you grew up here your whole life, anybody? Is there any? One, two? Well, okay, Titus. Our son over here, so funny. They're so funny, these guys. We lived here 19 years. Today I want to talk about unexpected things that happen, unexpected but necessary. And we were thinking back over our journey over the last 19 years of all the unexpected things that have happened that we didn't plan for. We didn't write that into our business plan, so to speak. We did move to Frisco with the intent to start a church. We started right in our own living room. Here's some old pictures. This is our old house. That's Titus. Lord, look, remember this look, the affliction look with the baggy jeans? Did anybody else wear that back in the early 2000s? You can move on to the next one. We want to throw some in. Everybody have this picture in your family of the baby screaming its head off, like you will smile to the older children. Put a smile on your face and shut your mouth, right? That's what that was. Go ahead, the next one. There's just a few. I think I took some out. Are we frozen? Anyway, they'll scroll through. Oh, there's that. Spider-Man, that was some Halloween. Keep going. There's a couple more and then we're going to be done. That's the Bourne Bros. Titus calls they're the OGs. Like, okay, don't say that around Silas. That's not nice. And that side, the third kid. Does this wrap up what the last kid in the family looks like? Everybody has the same experience. So that's the young Bournes, the vintage Bournes way back when. But we have been here 19 years. And, we moved here to start a church. And we both, we thought we'll just move to Frisco. And it's North Dallas. So we'll just get a job. We both had degrees. We'll move. Because jobs in the Dallas area are just falling off the trees. That's what you think of the land of plenty when you don't live here. Anybody else? And then you get here and you realize like, oh, they're not just readily available. So when we moved here, we thought we had these resumes out and we had, everywhere, but it was also the tech bust of 2002. So there were no jobs to be found. Tim waited tables and I managed a Mother's Day Out program at a daycare. That's what we did for the first 3 years we lived here. Well, I moved my business to home. I started an in-home daycare. So not only are we college graduates with fresh degrees, thinking we were going to come here and conquer the world and start a church in our living room and we're not going to sleep. It's going to be fine. It's going to be awesome. We're going to do great things for God. But then everything went a different way. Don't you love when God takes your plan that you've 5-year plan, you've submitted it in the correct format and he's like, that's cute. We're going to throw that away and start over now on what I want to do with your life, right? That's exactly what happened when we moved here. We had a couple of babies that I kept in the house for a few years. I had Titus and Jordan, they were young, and then I had babies. There was one we called the pterodactyl baby, just like dinosaur, all day long. I had another one that, this is a little gruesome, ate her poop during nap time. Okay, so walked into that gruesome scene a couple of times before I realized duct tape, she can't get through that. Wrap that baby up in duct tape on the diaper. Didn't touch the skin. Don't turn me in. It's fine. The mom approved. And that's how I overcame that. I considered myself a baby whisperer, and I'm like, these babies are defeating me. I'm good at this. What is the problem? And I also, some of you know this story, but I drove a van without reverse for a year and a half during that time. Sacrifice. You know why? Like, what? People are like, why? Why did you do that? I'm like, because we didn't have the money to fix the transmission. So it's either drive the van with no reverse or don't go anywhere. I can't stay home more than one day. I got to get out of that house. I mean, like, the walls are closing in. So I would just, like, pull straight through at places that I could, like, pull straight out of. Or on an incline, you could just put it in neutral and, like, just coast out. You learn to manage. I mean, has anybody had to figure stuff out, right? So, you know, that's what we did. My babies were little. That thing died on 121. It was at the Sam Rayburn Tollway was not there yet. It was just 121 in Preston. Plano coming up to Frisco at Stonebriar Mall. It died on a Saturday at like 5 o'clock. Traffic everywhere. Jordan and Titus are little. It's hot. Jordan is screaming, we're going to die. We're going to suffocate. It was hot. I'm like, we're fine. Tim is on the phone like, I think we're going to take it and get them to repair it. I'm like, do not speak the word repair. This van is dead. We are not resurrecting it again. We're done. But there are things you go through and you walk through when you have a plan and it all gets thrown away. Unexpected things come around, right? Tim had to wait tables for several years, which was crazy, but he worked like 5 doubles a week at California Pizza Kitchen at Stonebriar Mall. If you've been here that long, he probably waited on you at some point, but somehow, some way, we made it. But life throws so many unexpecteds at us. What do? We had 1 kid when we got here. Titus came along in the first year we were here, so now we have 2, and then Silas came along a few years later, all unexpected. So it's funny how that takes place. And then, you know, Tim and I have been through a lot. We've both lost parents while we've been here in Frisco. We've lost, you know, different things here and there. We've grieved people coming in and out of our lives. It's interesting what God teaches you in those unexpected seasons of life. On Easter this year, he kicked off a series, PT. We call him PT. You can call him that if you want. Pastor Tim, get it? You're welcome. He kicked off a series called To Be Continued, and I'm going to stay in that today. But if you were here on Easter, you might remember that he said something. He came to a verse, and he said, Carrie, you need to preach this on Mother's Day. I was like, oh, okay, got it. All right. Well, we've kind of been digging around in that verse for the last several weeks. He and I, and digging in the history. I love to dig in the context and the history of what's happening in the verses. And so today, I want to unpack some of that and talk to you about the women mentioned in Matthew 27 and the moments they faced of the unexpected and what they did next. So let's dive in. Are you ready? Matthew 27, 55 through 61. We'll read through and then we'll unpack it a little. There were also many women there. This is actually at the cross. So Jesus is hanging on the cross. He's up on a hill as it's described, and there's all these people around who are there to witness this. Some followers of him who are grieving and sad as these women are. Some who are happy that this man is finally going to be taken care of. Some church leaders who had manipulated and cajoled the system to even be able to put him there and put him through trial and all the things that he endured to be on the cross that day. But here these women are mentioned. There were many women there looking on from a distance. They had followed Jesus all the way from Galilee, ministering to him and with him, and here their names are. Among them are, so there's more than what is named here. Do you see that? Among these women is Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James and Joseph, and the mother of the sons of Zebedee. That's a big name. We're going to call him Zeb, the son of Zeb. He's also referred to as the son, like his kids are referred to as the son of thunder. So he must have been a strong personality, all right? And her name is also Mary. There's a lot of Marys. What's the deal? It must have been the top girl name listed that year to name your baby. There's a lot of Marys. And there's some I even mentioned that their stories are in here too. We even got to them. So they're at the cross. Here they are looking on. And then 57 takes us to the tomb. Now it's evening. There came a rich man from Arimathea named Joseph, who was also a disciple of Jesus. He went to Pilate. He asked for the body of Jesus. Pilate ordered it to be given to him. And Joseph wanted to care and make sure that Jesus had a proper burial. So he took the body, he wrapped it in a clean linen shroud, and then he laid it, look at this, in his own new tomb that he himself cut out of a rock. Like, we don't have time. We're not even, Joseph of Arimathea is not even on our radar today. But look at the effort this man took to be sure Jesus was taken care of. And then 61 is where I want us to focus. It says Mary Magdalene and the other Mary were there, sitting opposite the tomb, staring at this big stone that's as tall as me, probably, rolled over the entrance to this cave that was this man jackhammered out of a rock. And they put Jesus inside, wrapped up, and it's dark, and it's over. And they're sitting there. Just let that sink over you for a moment. The grief, the sadness, the confusion, the despair of sitting and staring at the unexpected. It wasn't supposed to be like this. I sat in my dad's funeral at the graveside service 12 years ago. He died at 58 years old of a massive heart attack while mowing his lawn. And I remember sitting and not wanting to get up and disconnect from that moment. Because disconnecting from that moment meant a disconnection from him, and I wasn't ready to let go. And here these women are, sitting and staring at the unexpected. It wasn't supposed to be like this. He was supposed to be the king. He was supposed to have enough to overcome this. He's supposed to be able to beat all these guys. Like, how did they get the best of him? What is happening? We in this life, we find ourselves there, don't we? You study all night for a test. You don't get the grade. You work really hard for a promotion that you've put all the time and effort into, and someone else gets the position. Your kids break your heart again. You don't know how to help them see. Your marriage, it's not the stuff that dreams are made of. You don't know how you got here or how you're going to get out of it. For our family in 2020, we definitely endured some hard things. For our church, you know, when you tell churches they can't meet for 12 weeks, that the air we breathe is dangerous for each other, we can't be in proximity to each other. For our family, we're in the people business, and that's been taken away. That was hard. It's hard to figure out what was supposed to be next. It's very unexpected, as we all know. And imagine those women, all that they had been through, every moment they had been through to be at this moment when they're sitting and they're staring at a tomb and a stone and death and the unexpected. They have labored with him. They have served with him. Imagine the exhaustion, right? They didn't have the luxuries we had, but the women were along to probably take care of food. Can I get an amen? Like, you don't realize when you get married, you're saying yes to coming up with every meal that your family will eat for the rest of your life. Anybody? You're like, oh, they don't put that in the vows. Okay, put that back in there. But, you know, they've served tirelessly. They didn't have machines to do it for them. They've cooked, they've cleaned, they've laundered. They've done all those things, right? Anybody, like I was up late last night doing laundry. Our dryer went out. I have laundry on every hard surface trying to like air out all over the house. I mean, doing dishes. Right? It doesn't stop, right? Neither did it for them. But not only that, they have a front row seat to everything that God is doing while he's in ministry on this earth. So for 3 years, they've seen every miracle. They've looked with their own eyes at life change, at people having a radical transformation because they had an encounter with Jesus. They also got to see all of that, which made all the work worth it, right? And now they're here, staring and sitting in the silence, in the evening, in the dark. There were no street lamps. What do you do now? Wasn't supposed to be like this, was not the plan. Let's unpack them one by one. If we put 27, 55, and 56 back up, you can see the three women I want to hone in on today are obviously the three women who are mentioned. So the first one is Mary, the mother of James and Joseph. Now, Tim and I dove way down into like anything we could find, every version of this that's written in the Gospels. So if you don't know, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the beginning of the New Testament, are all parallel Gospels, means they all tell the same events just in their writing. So like Luke was a doctor, he gives a lot of details. Mark didn't give a lot of details. I'm like, he was the fun guy. He was just out to, let me just tell you really quick what happened. But you can get different things from different ones. So we dove into this, and at the cross, this lady specifically is mentioned, Mary, the mother of James and Joseph. James and Joseph were two of Jesus' brothers. So we're gonna go ahead and say this is Mary, the mother of Jesus. Now, what do you think she was thinking at that moment? She's been here since before the beginning. She's been in this whole scene, right? She is the one that was a young girl that was not married, and scandalous things came upon her, right? The angel came, showed up at her house. I love that they instantly know it's an angel. There's no like, then she tried to figure out who this man was in her house. It's like, no, the angel of the Lord came and she said, hey, angel, what's up? What you got for me? They instantly know. They must be glowing giants or something. Like you can't mistake that they're from heaven. But the angel, you know what he said to her? He said to her something like this. Hey, Mary, you're going to wake up tomorrow and be pregnant, essentially. You're going to be pregnant. The Holy Spirit, all the things, like Immaculate Conception, right? But he says, your son is going to rule over the kingdom of David, and his kingdom will never end. Okay. And her answer is, right out of her mouth, I am the Lord's servant, do whatever you want with me. Whew. Like, anybody in here a processor? You might be like, oh, hold up. We need to have a discussion. Do you know the public ridicule that is about to take place? Like, I am forever done. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It wouldn't be like, okay, that sounds like a great idea. I'm on board. I'm all in. Right? We might have some questions, but she just says, I'm the Lord's servant, do whatever you want. She's been here since the beginning. Now she's sitting opposite the tomb and she's staring. What has happened? I expected he was going to be the king forever. That's what the angel said. Was he lying? Has the plan changed and I don't know about it? The expectation was that his kingdom was never going to end. And the context that they have is this earthly kingdom, right? What do you do now when you're facing the unexpected? What now? Was all this pain that I've experienced since I was a teenager, was it worth it? Staring at this tomb. Then we have Mary, the mother of Zeb's sons. Zeb sounds like he walked out of a Duck Dynasty set or something. I'm not sure about his name. It's crazy. Her sons, they've been disciples, like two of the big 12, right? Like there's the people that like follow and believe that Jesus is who he says he is. And then there's the 12. They're like the guys. They like the stories of them go before them. They enter a town. Everyone knows who they are. They're walking about, engaged in all the things that God is letting them be a part of, miracles and healings and all these things. Her sons are two of the big 12. She's also the ultimate helicopter mom. So let's talk about it. Anybody remember this story? Like it's the same person. If you go back, sweet little Mary. Another thing called, the sons of thunder. It says, and I think one of them in Matthew 20 says something about the sons of thunder in a version, but here she comes. Now, have you ever been embarrassed by your mom? I have. Ray, raise your hand. Mom, I'm sorry. I know you're watching online. I love you. As a mother, have you ever embarrassed your children? Double up. We earn the right to do this, okay? It's been done to us. And when you grow up and you eventually have a family, you will also get to do the same to your kids. It's just a thing that we get to do in life. But here she comes. She's got a plan. Basically what's happening is she's walking into the coach's office with each kid and like, hey, I'm not sure if you've seen game film, but he's rocking it. I think he should be on the starting lineup. I'm not sure why you benched him. He only played 2 minutes. Are you going to get your act together? Like, can you imagine? Like, don't send emails to coaches. Let me just give you a parenting tip. Don't do that. They don't then play your kid. Actually, there's a dark mark on them after that, like Voldemort or something, okay? So don't. Just stay away from that. Just chill. Here she comes. She's got her kids. Hey, not only is she going to ask something pretty like, you're asking a lot, but now bring the kids. Like, the kids are dying. You're cringing for her. She's like, hey guys, mind your manners. You tuck your crazy in. You better say yes, ma'am. All the things that we all do. Here she comes. She's got her sons on either side. She kneels down. She's like, hi, Jesus. He's like, what you need? She's like, when you start your kingdom thing that you keep talking about, could you be sure that my boys sit on your left and your right? That is what she asks them. Can they be 2 and 3? I know you're number one, Jesus. If they could be 2 and 3, that would be great. I know they're your favorites. I won't tell anybody. It's fine. This is what she asked. Like, Mom, stop. But don't we all want that for our kids? Like, we want them to be seen. We want everybody to recognize, oh, they're just so special. I do remember going to Jordan's kindergarten teacher. I don't tell us in first. And saying, because you have a meeting before school starts, and you tell them all the things about your kid. I'm like, he has been reading since he was 4. He is on a third, I'm making things up. I'm not an educator. He's on a 3rd grade level. She's like, that's my first kid. I learned a little bit. Teachers are like, oh, no. We don't like you people. You learn, right? But you do want your kids to be recognized. So that's all in the world she's doing, right? Is trying to make sure her kids get the seat that she feels they deserve. They've put in the time. They've put in the work. They do all the things. Just make sure that they're taken care of. But she's got this focus of like this earthly thing that we can see. She's completely in the wrong context. But within that, she's just trying to make sure her kids are okay. But she's thinking about it in this like earthly sense of things. She's thinking like his mother, this is going to happen here on earth. He's going to come and set everything right, all these politics. Does this sound familiar? All these social justice issues, all this church infighting. Does this sound familiar? These are not new issues we're experiencing today. They're thinking he's going to come and set all that straight, and he's finally going to bring it all to peace. That's what they're looking for. In their lifetime, this is going to happen. And now she's sitting, and she's staring, wondering, what's going to happen next? What kingdom would my boys rule over now? She expected that they would rule with him on some level. And then we have Mary Magdalene. Mary is a woman whose life-changing encounter with Jesus was epic. She was walking around with 7 demons. That's like getting into like dark places we don't talk about. It's like, he who shall not be named. Clearly, I like Harry Potter. This is the second Harry Potter reference today. 7 demons. Can we even imagine what that would be like? I don't even know what that looks like. Now, I've been in some places where I could feel like something's not right here. Have you ever been in that situation? Maybe walk in a place or you get around a group of people. Maybe at school you might feel it like, yikes, there's a lot of dark something ain't right there. I'm going to remove myself from this situation. If that's not your response, students, it should be. If you walk into that, you got to get yourself out of that. Sometimes you can feel it. I call it the Spidey Senses of God. They're just going off like something ain't right about this. I got to get away from this thing. And here's Mary Magdalene. This woman's walking around with 7 demons. And you know what? When Jesus touched her and he healed her and it flowed from the top of her head all the way down to her feet, she never forgot what he did, because when you've been delivered on that level and set free from 7 possessions that have a hold of you, that becomes your story the rest of your life. Do you see that? That Jesus can do that in an instant? And that's what he did for her. You can give God some praise. Come on, we can give that up for God. He deserves it. Mary Magdalene is here sitting across, wondering to herself, he could deliver me from a life of torment, and he can't do this? This is the end? This is it? And the unexpected wasn't supposed to be this way. What now? What do we do now? And when we find ourselves in that place where we have found a place to sit, and we've decided, I'm just going to stay right here. Because so many things have gone wrong that were not in my plan, that I don't have control over, that I do not know what's happening next. I don't know what step to take. So it's safer for everyone if I just stay right here in the unexpected. And I just stare. And as I was thinking about these women and trying to relate to the moment that they were in, I thought about the times in my life that we have experienced unexpected things on such a level that it rocks everything inside of you. Everything you believe about the goodness of people. Has anybody been there besides me? Everything you believe about people, maybe relationships are gone, or your job has been taken away, or your health, your kids, you can't control it, people in and out, whatever it is. Maybe your parents, and you've become the parent now and the roles are all reversed. And you sit there in anger and disillusionment and sadness and depression and isolation and anxiety. And you ask yourself all the questions. But for us, Jesus, though he is in a tomb, he has been buried, we know the full story. We have the benefit of seeing the whole thing. What if God is just setting you up for a bigger success than you ever imagined? What if God is saying to you, I need you to endure this thing today, so tomorrow you can endure what's coming then. And next week you can endure that, and next year you can endure that. What if God is telling you that you need this, that this unexpected stone that's in front of you, that's been rolled, and it is impossible to remove, it is impossible to overcome, that it is the necessary tool you need to walk in the purpose that he has for you next week? What if that's it? I know for me personally, I will tell you, last year when the church couldn't meet for 12 weeks, right? 12 weeks. And our family was trying to figure out what to do, because we've sort of, Tim and I came together. We were both called to ministry, and we knew that from the very beginning of dating, and we came here making a joint decision to move and start a church and all the things, and but your kids are kind of born into what you do, right? I mean, you know what I'm saying? So they didn't choose to be pastors' kids. So all along the way in their lives, we have spoken things into them God has a plan for you. God is just like everybody else does. God has a plan, God has a purpose. Now the older two have chosen to follow in some of that ministry, and only God can do that. Because I keep saying, if you can do anything else, you should. Because if you're not called to this, you won't stay in it. And God's asking you for the long haul. He's asking you for the commitment. So when I think back to the last year, I will tell you in a vulnerable way, it became the hardest year of our lives. And I know you're like, what's the big deal? But what is your family story with COVID? How many did you lose? And you sat in grief, waiting for it to be over. Your job, people, all of a sudden you can't be, if you're a people person, COVID was the worst year ever, right? You can't be around people. All of a sudden, they're dangerous to you and your family. You're trying to figure out how to protect. What news source do I believe? How do you research this thing? Yeah, if you want information, man, there's every argument out there is out there. Have you realized that? They're just throwing stuff out there. You're like, who is reliable? But COVID became for us the hardest year of our lives. dark days, dark nights, where I believe the enemy was at work in our family to put us down, to almost a pressing of everything that God wanted to do, like a lid that you can't lift and that someone has twisted and bolted shut. Oh, I'd like to see you try to get up now. That's what I would hear over and over. But if I hadn't walked through that year, I wouldn't know that layer of faithfulness of God. So I wouldn't trade it. I wouldn't trade it because he's changed me forever by walking through the last 14 months. Sometimes we find that we learn more in the hard times than we do when it's just easy and it works out, right? Of course. And then we begin to understand once we've walked through that the unexpected is the thing that is necessary. So Mary, his mother, she expected him to be king, and she now knows he's going to be king. Once he's risen and they realize what's happened and they see his ascension and all the things, once the story's been told and they've walked through and they're on the other side of the cross, that's where our eyes are opened. If we only look at before, we tend to just see it through that perspective. But what we have is this full scope of God's greatness and his power and the depths to which he will go to find you and pursue you and love you right where you're at. So Mary, his mother, expected him that he would never die, essentially, that his kingdom would never end. Now she knows his kingdom will never end. Mary, the mother, you can give God some praise, go for it. God is speaking. Mary, the mother of James and John, right? She expected her kids were going to rule with him. Well, now she has the realization that it was necessary, all of this, for them to rule with him someday in the heavenly places, not here on this earth. Mary Magdalene, who really thought that his power was so great that it overcame all of these possessions in her life. Now she understands that power is going to create a kingdom. So when her expectation was broken, now it's come full circle and she realizes this will come to pass. So when we get to a place where everything looks so dark, the only choice sometimes is to hold on to the hope that he has already given you. If he has ever spoken to your heart, if he has ever been very clear about answering your prayers, if he has ever shown up for you, if you have ever seen him work, that's what you hold on to in the times when you feel like you can't hear him or you don't know which way is next. You hold on to hope because hope is on the way. It's always on the way. He's already gone before you to work it out. There's a great verse in Colossians 3, 1 through 2, and I love how God takes his word and he just confirms himself all the way through. If we'll put that up, Colossians 3, it says, since then, you have been raised with Christ. Just stop right there. Don't let your eyes go. What this means is, this is a picture of, once we accept Jesus, we've been resurrected from our life like he was resurrected from the grave, quite literally. So now we have that hope walking around with us every day. It says, since you've been raised with Christ, set your hearts on things above. This is not an earthly kingdom that I've been teaching you about. This is a heavenly kingdom that is so eternal and far above this world and this small lifespan. Look, set your hearts on things above where Christ is seated at the right hand of God. Oh, Mary, mother of the sons of thunder. What'd she ask? Can he say something to your left and your right? And his answer was, that seat is not mine to give. It's actually my seat. I'm on the right side. That's not mine to give. But they weren't there. You see how the word just like comes alive? The next phrase or the next verse is in 2 Corinthians chapter 4, and this is verse 16 and 18. Look at this. Do not lose heart. Though you might be feeling like you're just wasting away on the outside, if you think about because of everything you've experienced with Christ, you're renewed day by day inwardly. You got to rely on that. You got to rely on the deep stuff that he's put in you. And we're being renewed day by day. For our light and momentary troubles, it's like, don't minimize it, but okay. Our light and our momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs all the problems that you have. And then verse 18 says this, so because of this, we fix our eyes on what is seen, not on what is unseen. Because what is seen is temporary, and what is unseen, that's the good stuff. Let's give it up for God on that. That's the good stuff. On the other side of the cross, it all starts to make sense. Now we can see. Mary Magdalene, we're gonna finish up. We got 2 minutes left, we're almost done. She's the first person that sees Jesus after he's alive, resurrected. They're all running around trying to figure out what's happened. To set up, don't put the scriptures up yet, to set it up, they've sat in that night, those women, they've sat there for how long? I don't know. I can imagine a couple hours maybe, dark. They go home, the Sabbath is the next day. They're not allowed to be out on the Sabbath. And they're coming back with all these, it says a group of women, so I'm like imagining it's probably the same little group of friends, right, that are traveling with them, coming back, and they've got spices and all these things to like treat the body, take care of him. And they get there, and there is a little moment where it's like, hey, who's going to move the stone? How are we going to move the stone? I don't know. Well, we'll figure it out when we get there. And who is that personality? Raise your hand. Like, I don't know. We'll figure it out. Only me? Oh, there's a couple. Sometimes we get embarrassed to say that's us. But we get things done, too. We don't have to process anything. We just move. It works. It doesn't work. Who knows? We'll find out, right? This is funny. I just love the Bible. It gives us little things like the insights into their personalities. They get there, and the stone is moved. They arrive, and they're like, oh. And then they do a further investigation. Where like the body is not there. Like, he's gone. Wait, what? So everyone's freaking out, right? Freaking out. And now we come to John chapter 20, where Mary Magdalene first sees Jesus. Look at this beautiful exchange. Mary stood outside the tomb crying. As she wept, she bent over. So she's crying, and she's like, what is happening? What? He's dead now. Like, what's happened? Somebody taken him? And she leans in to look and see, where is he? Is he in here? Did he just like, in my mind, were you looking to see if he just moved over to the corner or something? I'm not sure what she was looking for. But just verify that these people said he's not here. And she looks in, and there's two angels, again, glowing giants, I guess, one at the head, one at the feet, sitting there. And she's trying to take in the scene. Don't you love what the angel says? Woman, why are you crying? I'm like, just like a man to be insensitive. Like, start with woman. That always works. That's a good idea. Woman. Or maybe it was I'm inferring like, the voice in which this is being spoken, like a text message. You got to be careful sometimes. Like, people infer things, right? Maybe it was like, hey, why are you crying? It's all good. You ever know that guy that's like, hey, I'm in pain. Can you just back off a second with your jolliness for a minute? Give me a moment. Either way, woman, why are you crying? She's like, they've taken him. They've taken my Lord away. He's not here. I'm just trying to find him. The next verse says she turns around, and he's standing there. It's Jesus. What's interesting is she thinks it's the gardener. She doesn't know it's him. I'd like a description of his disguise at this point, but we don't have it. I'm just assuming he has if he's the gardener, he has a tool belt with all the things. He got an SPF covered shirt on. He has a wide brim hat, gloves, whatever. I'm like, gardener Jesus is standing here. That's it. Immediately thought it was a gardener. And she's like, where is he? Where is he? Do you know where? Did you take him? If you took him, just show me where he is, and I will bring him back. I'm like, you got to love this woman. She's like, I ain't waiting on nobody else. I'm going to go find him, and I'm going to bring him back here so everybody can chill, right? She's just going to make it happen all by her little self. And with one word, he instantly speaks into her. He just says, Mary. And she recognizes the voice of her Redeemer because she knows who he is. She knows what he's capable of. And she spreads her arms out. Teacher, it's you. It's you. And he's like, hey, we don't have a lot of time. You need to go back. You need to tell the disciples. This is when Peter and John run back, and the disciple that Jesus loved got there first. You remember that whole competitive thing they have going on? This is when this happens. Go back and tell them what's happened here, and you need to tell them that I am going to establish my kingdom with my Father and your Father, and everything is about to start. Because you might have thought it was dead, but I'm just getting started on what I'm about to do. And Mary is the chosen voice, the woman who I'm sure was cast out. Like, look, don't go around Mary Magdalene. She's got 7 demons. She's dark. She's dangerous. She's one of those, she's a Jezebel. Like, imagine all the things that would describe this woman of the day. And how she's the one that's chosen to carry this message back to all the believers and disciples who have now gone back to fishing and gone back licking their wounds and have scattered to the 4 winds because they don't know what to do next. She gets to go and say, he is alive. She actually says, I've seen Jesus. He's alive. That's what our God can do. Can you pray with me? Let's worship. God, thank you for all that you've done. Thank you that there is no end in sight to what you are capable of. And though we may think something has died or is dead, you are always just getting started. God, thank you that even when you're silent or we don't know what's next, and we are seeking you, that there's something you're trying to show us, purpose in the pain, that we can then take and we can walk in that the rest of our lives. I'm asking you, God, to keep pressing that into me and keep pressing that into those who are desperate to hear that from you. You give us so many reasons to believe and hope. We don't have to sit anymore in that place of desperation and isolation and wonder what happened. We can stand with our eyes lifted to heaven. We can raise a hallelujah. We can worship at your feet, and you will always be there. And the church said, amen. You may stand. Let's worship.